જય સ્વામિનારાયણ બધાને. સહજાનંદ સ્વામી મહારાજની જય, બાપા શ્રીની જય, સદગુરુઓ શ્રીની જય, સ્વામિનારાયણ ભગવાનની જય તથા અનંત અનાદિ મુક્તોની જય. A humble prayer in their lotus feet and our Guru, Anadi Muktraj, Param Pujya Narayan Mama and Leela Masi's lotus feet, to augment this assembly with their divinity and grace. I humbly bow to their feet and pray to them to shower their blessings on us now and forever for the bliss of the divine Murti of Lord Swaminarayan. And I also request forgiveness from them as well as from the divine satsang to pardon my mistakes and shortcomings and ignorance. Also my apologies for not being able to join satsang for last 4 weeks. I had an unplanned work travel and after returning I was sick with cold and flu. Even now my voice is not completely back. So please pardon any interruptions during the satsang today. So last time we met, we talked about how Supreme Lord Sri Swaminarayan made extraordinary deposits in the emotional bank accounts of human beings, a quality exhibited by highly effective people. Today we will delve into the first 2 habits of highly effective people. Be proactive and begin with the end in mind. As we discussed in the past, the habits have a maturity continuum. First 3 lead from dependence to independence, and the next 3 lead from independence to interdependence. The habits that we'll explore today are the ones that relate to independence. So we'll look at each habit and then how Lord Swaminarayan's life incidents show that he had cultivated those habits. The first habit is be proactive. It is a habit of personal vision based on values. What Kavi says is that life is a product of our values, not our feelings. Life is a product of our decisions, not our conditions. Being proactive means taking individual responsibility of our life and choices. We take initiative to do whatever is necessary to make good things happen. Being reactive, on the other hand, means our life is a function of feelings, moods, impulses, conditions. The list can go on. We never seem to be short of reasons other than us that make us miserable. We feel victimized and under the control of other forces. We then take out frustration on our family, friends, and team members. And we truly believe that other people are doing this to us. We believe that we are what other people have made us. We are what our past has made us. We are what our surroundings and situations have made us. In other words, being reactive means not taking responsibility. Kavi says you are the programmer and you can write the program the way you want. Take responsibility. I am responsible. I am responsible. I'm able to respond to a situation. I'm able to respond to my conditions. I'm able to respond to my moods and impulses. Between the condition and the response is our ability to choose. And this choice is man's utmost freedom. The belief that I am a separate person from what happens to me, from my feelings, my mood, my genetic makeup. And this belief is the real freedom. We have the power to choose in any given circumstance, even the ones that we can do nothing about. Liberty is a condition of external environment. Freedom is internal, and it is our ability to choose our response. And eventually this freedom will influence the liberty. Our head will create our world. Our response to stimulus will affect our stimulus. This freedom and its effect on the stimulus has got nothing to do with health, intelligence, etc. It is all about strength of thought and mind and a vision of the future. So this is how Kavi explains the first habit of being proactive. Now we have talked earlier in our satsang that life incidents of Lord Swaminarayan from his childhood, we will refer to him as Ghanshyam Bhai. From his journey all over India, we will refer to him as Nilkant Varni. And the last phase of his life, we will refer to him as Sahajanand Swami or Lord Swaminarayan. Now these days, whenever there is a customer crisis, We use the phrase all hands on deck. Everybody has to put in whatever it takes to make something happen. The phrase itself comes from the times when ships were made as a mode of transport across continents. There was no other mode to move across continents. And during a storm or a pirate attack, the captain of the ship would call for the captain of the ship would call for all hands on deck. Now, during Ghanshyambai's time, all hands on deck situations rose when the state or the kingdom of a king was attacked. At such times, all young men were called in to fight in the army. There is a very good example of displaying our ability to choose in any given circumstance from the time of Ghanshyambai's stay in Ayodhya. So his age was somewhere between 5 to 10 years. He was a young boy, playful and innocent, yet very learned. His elder brother, Ram Pratap Bhai, was 19 years older to Ghanshyambai. Once the king of Burhanpur invited Ram Pratap Bhai over, and Ghanshyambai accompanied Ram Pratap Bhai to Burhanpur. Now, Burhanpur is a city in Madhya Pradesh, visible even today on Google Maps at the intersection of Highway 4 and 27 on India's map. It is located at the southeast corner of Yaval Wild Sanctuary, and it is about 1,000 to 1,100 kilometers, or roughly about 625 to 685 miles from Ayodhya. And at that time, given the modes of transport, it would take at least 15 to 20 days to reach Burhanpur from Ayodhya. So when the invite came, Ram Pratap Bhai and Ghanshyambai started from Ayodhya. But by the time they reached, upon arrival, they found that the city of Burhanpur was engulfed in war. And the king of Burhanpur had called for all hands on deck. This did not exclude the Brahmin visitor Ram Pratap Bhai from Ayodhya. Ghanshyambai was excluded since he was only a kid. So after taking over the fort, which exists even today on the banks of river Tapi, the army had crossed the river Tapi and looted the village of Janiabad, which exists in the same location today on the other side of river Tapi, right across the fort. We also have to remember that the caste system was very well followed at that time. and Brahmins did not fight. But in this situation, it was a call of duty, and Ram Pratap Bhai fought with the army. The situation was not favorable. He had to pick up the weapons. He did not have the liberty to say no to the king of Burhanpur. Ghanshyam Bhai was made to stay in a base camp about 10 miles from the battlefield. While being visible at the base camp, Ghanshyam Bhai reached out to Ram Pratap Bhai thrice during the battle with water to quench his thirst. Now we have talked during one of our satsangs that scientifically it is believed that the same photon of light can be visible at two places at the same time. So Ghanshyam Bhai made himself visible at both the places, at the base camp as well as on the battlefield. And Ram Pratap Bhai would tell him, Ghanshyam, do not come here. This is a dangerous place. You could get hit by a bullet. But Ghanshyam Bhai calmly responded, I will be here whenever you need me, whether it is to quench your thirst or for moral support. Now Ghanshyam Bhai could have used his divine powers to get Ram Pratap Bhai out of the situation itself. But he did not do that. He rather gave Ram Pratap Bhai strength to deal with the situation. He remained with Ram Pratap Bhai all the time, helping him make righteous decisions, even in the battlefield. Many a times we are faced with situations in life where it is very difficult to stick to the values and principles. From this incident, we learn that even in life and death scenario, it is possible to make righteous decisions. That is where our freedom lies, the freedom to choose. And that is our ability to respond to the situation. That is the freedom. Now, of course, the army that Ram Pratap Bhai fought with won the battle and took over the fort. And as I mentioned earlier, following this, the army returned to the base camp, crossed the river Tapi, and looted the village of Janiabad. When the army returned to the base camp, Ghanshyam Bhai was very delighted to see Ram Pratap Bhai back. As the army proceeded to Janiabad, Ghanshyam Bhai held back Ram Pratap Bhai's hand. They settled with a bowl of yogurt and did not indulge into the derogatory act of looting innocent villagers. It is so easy to follow the mob and do things that are against the principles of humanity than to stand up for the principles. Especially when such acts are performed by people in power. There is a psychological research done that most people do things that they cannot believe they can do under the pressure of authority or perceived authority. But the fact is, even in these situations, we have the freedom and the responsibility to stay true to our principles and values. This is the underlying core of the first habit of being proactive. And we saw through the incident above that Lord Swaminarayan exhibited these qualities even as a child. The ability to choose our response to any given situation, such that it's aligned to our values and principles. So the question is, how to develop this habit of being proactive? Kavi says the key to being proactive is to take initiative, to act upon our conscience. Our conscience always knows the right thing to do. Sometimes our mind convinces our conscience or our heart to do things that are selfish, unethical. Being proactive means to have the courage not just to tell others, but to also tell our own mind to do the right thing, even when it is difficult to do so. In order to cultivate this courage, Kavi talks about two circles. One inner smaller circle is about the things that we can influence, our inner circle of influence. Surrounding this inner circle is a larger outer circle about the things that we cannot influence. Effective people focus on the inner circle. They use their strengths to compensate for the weaknesses of others and thus gradually grow their inner circle of influence. They say to themselves, no matter what the circumstances are, I'm going to be proactive and give my energy to the things that I can do something about. Give my energy to the inner circle. And gradually this inner circle will get larger with patience and persistence. And an effective person will be able to influence more and more things and do something about them. When we look at life of Lord Swaminarayan, Lord Swaminarayan started very small. He focused on things that he can influence. His values, learning, being there for his parents and siblings, moving on to the path of yoga, austerity, meditation, knowledge. These were all the things that he could influence as Ghanshyam Bhai and during the early life as Nilkantvarni. Later as Nilkantvarni, he had many righteous people following him, and he made a wider impact on those groups through peaceful, knowledgeful, divine experiences and divine leadership. When he arrived at Lodge and joined Muktanand Swami, He joined as a mere young 18-year-old disciple and started his influence on small things like collecting fuel for the group, help in cooking, cleaning, gathering vegetables from the farms, influencing utmost celibacy in the saints, etc. He laid down a firm foundation of ethics and codes of conduct, not just for himself but for the group of saints that resided with Muktanand Swami. Later, his responsibilities expanded to the entire group of saints and devotees with Ramanand Swami. Following which, he further expanded the satsang in terms of size and expanse and stretched it to the entire state of Gujarat in India. He created the necessary infrastructure to sustain the satsang even after he left the body. And today, due to the effectiveness of his personality, Swaminarayan religion has become world famous. The inner circle of influence that started with yoga and meditation has now become a religion that spans across the globe. Now that is the sign of a real proactive. Anadi Muktraj Param Pujya Narayan Mama was once asked a question. Why does Lord Swaminarayan allow institutions with inaccurate understanding of Swaminarayan philosophy prevail? And Anadi Muktraj Param Pujya Narayan Mama responded, Lord Swaminarayan is very effective. He lets all these streams prevail for a widespread generic knowledge of the religion. Once the initial knowledge about the philosophy comes, the real aspirants will automatically be guided to the accurate knowledge. Now, having talked about being proactive and how to be proactive, let's move to the next habit of begin with the end in mind. Habit 1 assumes self-chosen values. Habit 2 is about those values. Habit 2 is about personal leadership. It requires a sense of vision and self-chosen values and its application to everything we do in our personal and professional lives. It is about taking leadership of our own life. We decide our value system. It is a value of personal leadership, a purpose, a mental creation, a mission. It is opposite of going with the flow with no purpose. In our programming example, habit 2 says, write the program. Habit 1 says you are the programmer. Habit 2 says write the program. Don't live some other program out that does not meet our needs and values. So we decide it, we write it, we live it. It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle. We know the picture that we need to build. And we put the pieces together to build the jigsaw puzzle. Or another example is to make a blueprint before making the house. Kavi says we go to a meeting with an end in mind. We go out to eat with an end in mind. Likewise, we should create a mental and spiritual vision first, then create our life. The house we live in, the car we use, we should have a vision for that. Begin with the end in mind. The other way he says we can look at it is if we were to die and a family member, a friend, a co-worker, and a person from our religious institution were to give a eulogy, what will they say? The answer to that question should define our values and every decision we make in life along the way as we live our life. After birth of Ram Pratap Bhai, the elder brother of Ghanshyam Bhai, harassed by the unrighteous ones, Lord Swaminarayan's parents, after moving residences and villages, Dharmapita and Bhakti Mata, went to Vrindavan to worship. There they met with other rishis who had also taken a birth as human beings due to the curse of Durvasa Rishi. Together they did a yagna, and pleased with their devotion, Lord Swaminarayan gave them a divine darshan and pacified their battered spirit by confirming that he will soon be born to Dharma and Bhakti, and that the worries and troubles of the righteous ones will come to an end. So after ceremoniously ending the yagna, Dharmapita and Bhakti Mata headed home feeling very relieved and happy. Along the way they had to cross the forest of Naimisharanya. As they were passing through it, they had various spiritual experiences. In one such experience, they met a man on the darkest night of the month. Upon asking, he introduced himself as Ashwatthama. For those who don't know Ashwatthama, he was the son of Dronacharya, the teacher of Pandavas and Kauravas from the Mahabharata epic, and he favored Duryodhan, the eldest of the Kauravas, in the epic battle at Kurukshetra. At the end of the battle, upset by the victory of Pandavas, he used Brahmastra, the most destructive of the weapons, to put Pandavas and their entire lineage to an end. Upon which Lord Krishna cursed him to roam around on earth with a resident pain in his forehead. Ashwatthama, the immortal one, was still roaming around and met Dharmapita and Bhakti Mata on that fateful night in the forest. Dharmapita and Bhakti Mata, trusting people that they were, told Ashwatthama in their excitement and happiness that they were returning home happy since God Supreme was going to advent to put an end to unrighteous ones and protect the righteous ones. Upon which Ashwatthama got upset and said, "The one who will be born to you will not pick up a weapon. And if he does not pick up a weapon, how will he put an end to the unrighteous ones?" And saying this, he disappeared. And of course, hearing this, Dharmapita and Bhaktimata realized their mistake and became extremely upset and started remembering Lord Ganpati. So though they were remembering Lord Ganpati, Lord Hanumanji gave them a darshan and said, "The one who will be born to you will not need to pick up the weapon, since he will destroy the unrighteous ones by knowledge. He will put an end to ignorance and spread the real knowledge." Dharmapita and Bhaktimata were very pleased to hear this. Now this incident happened before even Lord Swaminarayan manifested on earth. Talk about begin with the end in mind. Even before taking his first footstep on earth, the expected end result was all set: destruction of unrighteous acts by knowledge. After birth of Ghanshyambai, once he started crawling, Father Dharmapita wanted to find out his son's inclination so that he can coach him appropriately. In order to do this, he placed a sword, a book, and some gold coins on a small table. It was then placed in front of Ghanshyambai. Ghanshyambai slowly crawled up to the table and found a few interesting things. Now we have to remember we are talking about a toddler who has just about started crawling. And Ghanshyambai immediately placed his hand on the book. Dharmapita knew that his son Ghanshyambai will become very knowledgeable and learned, and decided to start his education early on to leverage his strengths. Once again, a very early and clear indication that the end result of his advent on earth was knowledge. Upon entering the boyhood, there is a Yagnopavit or Upnayan Sanskar, popularly known in English today as thread ceremony, that is done, especially in Brahmin community. In the year 1789, around the month of January or February, when Ghanshyambai was 7 years old, with 8th year running, the 10th day of the waxing of the moon of the month of Maha of Hindu calendar was decided as the day to conduct the thread ceremony for Ghanshyambai. Invitations were sent out to family and friends, and people started gathering the previous day. The venue was tastefully decorated to go with the occasion, and all the visitors could not stop praising the decor. Learned Pandits were called in for conducting the ceremony. The air was filled with the vibrations of the mantras being chanted. The fragrance of the yagna was filling the venue with an inexplicable serenity and peace. After doing the necessary pre-rituals and donations of cow and gold, Ghanshyambai was brought into the ceremony place. After shaving his head, bathing him and augmenting him with the thread that he bore on his left shoulder, the yagna was completed. Upon which Dharmapita gave his pearls of wisdom to Ghanshyambai. Do not sleep during the day. Serve your Guru with respect and love. Do not get angry. Never use bad words. Observe eightfold celibacy. Don't gossip. Do not listen to cheap music. Never have your seat higher than your Guru's seat. Never drag or rub your feet on earth. Never write on earth. Do not grind your teeth. And many such words of wisdom were given by Dharmapita to the 7-8-year-old Ghanshyambai. After this, dressed as a brahmachari, Ghanshyambai asked for alms from his mother and Bhabi, Ram Pratap Bai's wife Suhasini Bhabi. The alms were the way of life for those who renounce the world, and it is a part of the rituals at thread ceremony. He then brought the alms to his Guru and ate some after his Guru asked him to eat. Following this was the last ritual, to prepare to leave for Kashi to gain knowledge and then run to go to Kashi. And as the ritual goes, Mama, mother's brother, is supposed to bring the boy back home after imparting him first real knowledge. Now this is all just a pretend runaway, it's not a real runaway. Now in preparation for going to Kashi, the Guru gave Ghanshyambai Dand, Kamandar, Mrugchal, the Basilwood Rosary and Mekhada, and Mother Bhakti Mata gave a few goodies to eat along the way. Ghanshyambai had resolved in his mind to not pretend to run away, but actually run away to Kashi in search of knowledge. As he started running, his mama, Vashram Tiwari, followed him but could not catch up. After running for a while, he got tired and called out to Ghanshyambai, I know what you are trying to do. Do not go now. Your parents will not be able to tolerate the pain. Take care of them first. Then you can do whatever you want. What will I tell your parents if I do not bring you back home to them? Ghanshyambai saw the responsibility that Mama Vashrambai was talking about and decided to not run away, and came back home sitting on his mama's shoulder. Now we all know that he then waited another 3 years and finally left home in search of knowledge at the young age of 11, after giving ultimate liberation to both his parents and taking care of all his other responsibilities. And the inclination of the knowledge continued and visible throughout the life of Lord Swaminarayan. The collection of Lord Swaminarayan's discourses, the Vachanamritam, is rated as the best spiritual scripture by the seat of Pandits in Kashi. And Anadi Muktraj Param Puja Narayan Mama has also received an award related to that. Even from worldly perspective, if we observe the history of mankind, we have not made such intellectual and scientific progress in the entire known or documented history of humankind as we have made in past 250 years. Between the year 2000 and 2012, the amount of information that the human race has generated exceeds the amount of information generated in the entire history of mankind. The kind of information and knowledge explosion that we have seen since the advent of Lord Swaminarayan on planet Earth is unheard of in the entire history that we know. And as much as we may think that we live in a time of turmoil and politics and war and violence, this is rated as the most peaceful time in the history of mankind by the historians and the students of societal behavioral studies. Lord Swaminarayan began with the end in mind: destroy unrighteous by knowledge. And it is visible today: more knowledge and less violence. A fact that even the best of the professors and the scholars accept, irrespective of whether they know about Lord Swaminarayan or not. Now, conversation on habit 2, begin with end in mind, will not be complete without talking about mission statements. Kavi says that the fundamental reasons why families split and organizations fail is that its members do not share a common vision, where everyone has participated and created a vision and share it together as our vision. It is the most significant and important decision because every other decision, large and small, is dependent on that decision. We define what things are truly important, and these become continued sense of guiding in our lives. Kavi says that we should develop a personal mission purpose statement, same with family, same with organization, companies, boards, committees, departments, and that there are two parts to mission statement. One is the vision and the other is the principle. Vision deals with the mental picture of what we are about, and principles deals with how we go about it. Let's perform deep work. We must pay the price to cultivate the sense of purpose. Vision requires enormous amount of self-awareness and imagination and humility and openness and use of conscience. Kavi also explains the good characteristics of mission statements, be it personal, family, or organizational. First, they should be timeless. This helps deal with other changes because the core is changeless and dependable. Second, it deals with both ends and means. What we are about and how do we go about it. Now, once a money-minded acquaintance of mine told me, dollar does not have written on it where it came from. And I had responded to him, it's even worse. It's written on your heart and mind where the dollar came from. A good mission statement should not just deal with the end, the dollar, but also the means, where the dollar came from. The third characteristic of a good mission statement is it should deal with all four of our needs. Kavi says we all have four needs: to live, to learn, to love, and to leave a legacy. And the mission statement should deal with all of those four needs. And then the fourth is that it should implicitly or explicitly deal with all the roles that we play in our lives. For example, I play a role of a daughter, a sister, a friend, satsangi, a manager. We need to lead a balanced life and we need to think of all those roles and include them in our mission statement. Lord Swaminarayan's mission statement is evident from just one incident. Once, Lord Swaminarayan was traveling with a group of saints in the villages of present-day Gujarat. In the town of Anand, the non-satsangis created a scene at the welcome procession of Lord Swaminarayan and threw stuff on the people in the procession and on saints and even Lord Swaminarayan. The saints were very upset, and some with unparalleled divine powers questioned, why should we tolerate such behavior with you when you are the Supreme Lord and we are your disciples? As your disciples, we should be protecting you and your interests with all our powers and strength. Lord Swaminarayan responded, we are here to grant ultimate liberation to the souls, not to reprimand them for their ignorance. This town in future will bloom with satsangis and temples. Since many of us in the satsang mandal are from Vidyanagar, Anand's twin town, we know how true this is today. And this actually is the mission statement of Lord Swaminarayan. Grant ultimate liberation to the souls, not reprimand them for their ignorance. Bloom the satsang on this earth. So today we talked about two habits and related incidents from life of Lord Swaminarayan. Next time, in a couple of weeks, we will continue further with the habits. My humble Jai Swaminarayan to all the Muktos. Sahajanand Swami Maharaj ni Jai. Bapa Shri ni Jai. Sadguru Shri ni Jai. Swaminarayan Bhagwan ni Jai. Vishal bhai, over to you.
Thanks for having Jai Swaminarayan. બધાને મ્યુટ કરું છું.